Part 3. The Economic Ripple Effect. What happens if more pastoralist families leave? Every major shift in agriculture eventually finds its way to the dining table. What begins as a family quietly packing its belongings in a rural settlement may, months later, be reflected in the price of beef in Lagos, Abuja, Port Harcourt, Enugu, or Kano. That is why the reported relocation of some Fulani pastoralist families has attracted the attention of economists, food security experts, and policymakers. The question is no longer just about those leaving. The bigger question is, what happens if more decide to follow? Nigeria is home to one of Africa's largest livestock industries. Millions of cattle are raised, transported, sold, and processed every year. Behind every cow sold in a market lies an entire economic chain. There is the pastoralist who raises the animal, the transporter who moves it hundreds of kilometers, the livestock market where buyers and sellers negotiate, the veterinary workers who keep the animals healthy, the butchers who prepare the meat, the leather processors who turn hides into shoes, belts, bags, and industrial materials, the restaurants that prepare meals, the street food vendors selling suya, the families who depend on affordable protein to feed their children. It is an ecosystem that supports millions of livelihoods. When one part of that chain is disrupted, every other part eventually feels the impact. Now imagine that some experienced cattle breeders decide that remaining in certain locations is no longer worth the risk. Some relocate to other parts of Nigeria. Others move beyond Nigeria's borders. The immediate effect may seem small, but if such movements were to become more widespread over time, the consequences could become significant. The first area likely to be affected would be cattle supply. With fewer animals reaching some livestock markets, competition among buyers could increase. As supply falls and demand remains strong, prices often begin to rise. For ordinary Nigerians, that could mean paying more for beef. Restaurants could spend more on ingredients. Suya sellers might increase prices or reduce portion sizes. Families already struggling with inflation could find animal protein becoming even less affordable. But beef is only part of the picture. Nigeria also depends on cattle for milk production. Although the country imports much of its dairy products, local cattle contribute to fresh milk used by households and small businesses. Any sustained reduction in livestock production could place additional pressure on an industry that already struggles to meet national demand. The leather industry could also feel the effects. Nigeria